Hi guys, how's it going today? So we are doing throughout the years in this video. Today's video is throughout the years 8th grade. And I am actually going to start in the summer prior to when I began 8th grade because I moved to Israel in July of 1994. I think it was July 17th actually, and I know I talked about that a little bit in my throughout the years 7th grade video, so I'll just pretty much pick up where I left off there. So, okay, I told you the part about John, and he was there the day that we left, and had this special letter, and crying in the airport, and blah, 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 blah. So I get on the plane, and I read the letter from him, and it is like the most touching thing. I got my tears all over it. It had his tears all over it. And I carried this letter around in my backpack the whole time I lived in Israel. Every day at school, every day of my life, I would take that letter out of my backpack, and I would read it. And I ended up losing it very shortly before I came back to America, which really, really distressed me because I'm the kind of person who saves letters, and I have like 2 boxes full of them in my closet. And were it not for the fact that it vanished, I would have it to this day. So that was a really big deal for me that year. That letter was like everything to me, and John and I kept in touch for the first year of the 3 that I was there, and then we fell out of touch, but that's a story for another time because that year we were in constant contact. I called him from payphones with these things called telecards. I guess they have them here now, but back then you like put this card into a phone. I guess maybe you just scan them or key them in now, but at the time you fed the card to the phone and it would deduct credits based on, where you were calling and how long you were on the phone and all of that stuff. So my dad was able to get them really cheap through work, and he would bring me these telecards. So I'd like walk myself down the block from our house and I would call John. But that was actually a little bit later. When I first got to Israel, we spent the entire summer living in my dad's parents' apartment there in Tel Aviv. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, and I have 4 sisters and my mom and dad. So there were 7 of us, plus my grandparents, 9 of us in a 2-bedroom. Me and my sister Karen had the 2nd bedroom because my grandfather, or in Hebrew as you would say Saba, so my Saba painted it pink for me and Karen the year prior we went to visit. So that was our room. So Karen and I stayed in the room. My mom and the 3 little girls slept on, no, the 3 little girls slept on the pull-out bed with maybe my dad. My mom slept in the bed with my grandmother, or I don't know, they might have switched around. And then my grandfather would sleep at the neighbor's house across the hall. So that's how we worked that out. And that was for just the summer, and it was pretty traumatizing. My grandparents lived in a part of Tel Aviv that was kind of old school. Tel Aviv is like the center of Israel, and it's very modern. It's nothing like, it's nothing outside of the way you guys are all used to living, probably. But the part they lived in was kind of an older town, and there were traditional ways, and like when you bought a chicken from the market, it still had its feet attached. And I don't know if I've told you guys the stories before. My grandfather used to save the chicken feet from all the cooking my grandma did, my softa in Israel. Then my Saba would give me the bag of chicken feet and tell me to go feed the stray cats. And I loved cats. I loved the stray cats. But can you imagine being given a bag of chicken feet and being told to go feed them? It was horrific. Right outside my bedroom window at that apartment, there was this field, and my father had told me, and they were like on a 2nd story. He told me when he was a teenager he used to jump out the window into the field and escape. So it was kind of special because like I knew that story about the field. And then right in front of the apartment there was this pole, like a power pole, and it was dented. And my dad said he's the one that had dented it. He had backed a car into it when he was younger. So that was kind of fun for me too. After the summer, we ended up moving to a town in Israel called Ra'anana, which is near Herzliya, Herzliya has a beach, so it was really cool. We were like right next to everything. And Ra'anana is a beautiful, beautiful small town. 1 main street, all the streets running off of it. Only this side of the street was really developed when I was living there. The other side of the street had been mostly fields, but they were working on it. So there was that. And then our house was alright. It was a smaller house than what we were used to, but it was a big house for Israel standards, I suppose. And I had my own room, and then Karen and Jordy shared a room, and Lauren and Froggy shared a room. My parents, of course, had a room. We got a dog that year, a boxer named Honey, which was the first of many boxers we've had since. After Honey, we had Rambo, and then they had puppies together on my 14th birthday. So again, story for another time. We'll get there, I promise. And we had Honey, and my sister Karen would go volunteer at a veterinarian down the street, and we got all of her stuff, like all of her health stuff done for free, although obviously we didn't get her spayed because, like I said, later there were puppies. And then I started school, and there was a heavy emphasis on English in the town of Ra'anana because it had been settled by the British, so all the signs were in English, and most of the citizens of the town spoke English, so it was really nice for me. And I remember people that I met like randomly throughout the summer saying, "Oh, you should meet this girl Sierra because you guys would be really good friends. She's American too. She's been here a year, blah, 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 blah." Come to find out that Sierra had been dating the guy that lived in my house before we moved into it, and she still was dating him, so she was very familiar with my house. She'd been in it for a year before I ever got there. And we ended up meeting, and we did end up becoming friends, so that was pretty cool. For the first 6 months or so of 8th grade, I was pretty happy because I had made a friend right away, and I thought she was really, really cool, and I had a group of friends, like, instantly, because she'd been there for a year, and she had a group of friends, and I thought we, like, related because we both spoke English and all of that stuff. And school wasn't great. I wasn't smoking cigarettes yet because I was 12 coming up on 13. I believe I started smoking cigarettes in January of the next year, so I was still 13, but I hadn't gotten there yet. It did happen that year. Anyway, so Sierra and I were hanging out, and then I remember one day she and these other two girls were like, "We need to talk to you." We all sat down in the park, and they were like, "Look, you're a lot younger than us, you're immature, we feel like we're your babysitter, we don't feel like we're your friends, so pretty much find a new crew. F off, thanks for the time." And I was like heartbroken because, you know, here I am already like don't fit in anywhere, been rejected by everybody always, and like I thought I finally had people I belonged with. I used to sleep over at her house all the time, and I thought she was just like the most awesome girl, and it like totally broke my heart. And just in case you guys are wondering, she and I are still in touch to this day. We haven't seen each other in years, but her sister lives in town, and her sister actually became best friends with my sister Karen, which is, you know, their own story. But she and I are in touch, and I love her dearly, and we've talked about, you know, how we were young, and when you're young and thinking you're cool and blah, 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 but I think she's awesome, and I hope she thinks I'm awesome, and I love her, and so, no ill will, but at the time, it was like, I hate you, how could you do this to me? I've been your friend, and I thought we were, you know, actual friends, and now I'm all alone again. And so I started hanging out with my sister Karen, and that girl's sister, because like I said, they were best friends, Sierra's sister. And I started, you know, just trying to branch out from there, and I spent most of the rest of that year relatively friendless on my own, but my sister Karen's group was kids in her grade, which was 6th, so she was in elementary school. Kids in 7th and 8th grade at the middle school I was at, so it was okay. You know, there were people in my age range. It was just so embarrassing to, like, be the tag-along older sister when you were used to being, you know, at least the one who initiated stuff because you're the oldest. So 8th grade was kind of hard for me. I used to just fantasize all the time about hopping the fence and getting out of the school, but I didn't ditch much then. I just kind of would either sit wherever I wanted on the campus or just read a book or like make a friendship bracelet in class. I really didn't pay much attention except in English. I was really resistant to learning Hebrew, and I had a Hebrew teacher that lived 2 houses down the street from me, and I would be terrible in her class. It was like a tiny little closet. It was like the size of 2 teachers' desks put together, the whole room. And there was just like one little table in there, and there were kids from like Germany and Russia and America, and one kid was from Mexico, and there were people from all over, and they had all just moved to Israel, and we were all trying to learn Hebrew. And they all seemed to really want to learn it, which was kind of confusing to me at the time because I was so angry at having been taken there that I, like, decided the last thing that was ever going to happen on the face of the planet was for me to learn the language. Just, you know, I'll teach my parents, I'll show them, that kind of thing. Which, in retrospect, was not the best idea. I should have bitten the bullet and learned the language because then I'd be fluent instead of having the capacity in Hebrew of a 3-year-old. You live, you learn, right, guys? But that's a lesson for you. If you're younger and someone wants you to learn a second language, go ahead and do it, because you won't ever retain it the way you will when you're young, and you'll be happy you have it someday. It'll come in handy, I promise. Let's see. So then, my sister Karen, we were in the car, and she told me, "Guess what? I smoke cigarettes." And she was whispering, because of course we weren't driving because we were children. And I said, "Oh no, you do not smoke cigarettes." She said, "Yes, I do. I smoke cigarettes with my friends. You want me to show you?" So I, like, went out with her and her friends to the park at night and, like, watched them all smoke cigarettes. And I was like, if my little sister who's 12 is smoking, I need to smoke too, which is a really bad idea. Disclaimer, disclaimer, do not smoke. Smoking causes cancer. Smoking ages your skin. Smoking makes you smell gross. Smoking is expensive. Do not smoke. It's gross. But that's what I did. And I just remember it was, like, at least something that made me fit in. I could, like, go have a cigarette with the other kids and, you know, not quite be so alone. So that was the reason I started, which, again, no reason is a good reason. It's a stupid habit. It's gross, but that's what I did. And let's see if anything else really stands out. That's pretty much how the rest of the year passed. It's just me trying desperately to fit in and make friends. And at the end of that year, I begged and pleaded with my parents to send me back to America. And after weeks and weeks of crying and screaming and begging, it finally actually worked. They put Karen and me on a plane and sent us home here. Well, this house wasn't built yet, but my grandparents have lived on this lot for 25 years or something, and their house is up front, so, or 27 years. Anyway, their house is on this lot, and they were here, so I came here. And Karen and I were here for 6 weeks, and I just remember pleading with my grandmother at the end of the trip, "Don't make me go back. Don't make me go back. Just let me stay here. Let me stay here. I want to be here." And I got to see John. That was right before he and I lost touch, actually. We spent every single day together when I was out here visiting. But of course, my grandmother pushed me onto the plane, had to go, blah, blah, blah. So back to Israel I went for ninth grade, which is a tale for the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed my throughout the years 8th grade video. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them below. I'm very curious about your opinions. I'm very curious about your 8th grade experiences, especially if you did them in a country other than America, because that's what I did. So thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.